Today. We got a special guest on the line. We got on the line today.
Yeah. We got David Devine.
From the longtime family of dogs, the Devine bloodline, huh?
Yeah, we had a few for quite a while.
Oh, okay. Well, before we go into anything, I wanted to, me and you talked about the Misty Blue dog. You want to get into that?
Yeah, I would like to, because she's the basis of the stuff that's still working today, through Saloon, Tornado, and all of them. But Misty, on her pedigree, when people see it, they have her been out of Cassie by unknown. And she was by a dog called Boots that was a littermate brother to Bruce and Zeb. And the reason it happened that way is at the farm, my dad, we had a little dog called Little Black that was Cowboy and Patty, and that's who he wanted to breed Cassie to. But he was at the racetrack. I wasn't all that high on the on Little Black, which I just, Dad loved the black dog. But anyway, he kind of messed around, didn't want to cover, and I had on the cable run right next to him was Boots, and I just took her over there and bred her to Boots 2 days in a row, and that's the pups that she had. But they got registered as being by Little Black. And like I say, I told ADBA later on, that they weren't by Little Black, they were by Boots. And I didn't tell my dad for years, but we started getting these spotted dogs, and he's wondering where the hell they came from. But anyway, I ended up telling him.
Okay.
But it bred on pretty good for us.
Okay. So you said she comes down, she's part of the Saloon dogs, like that's the...
Well, we bred her to a little dog that a friend of mine bought called Tommy, Daniel's Tommy.
Right.
And the night he flew in, he was an older dog, but when Larry got him, he flew into Tampa. He went and picked him up. He came by my house that night, and I was fixing to go up to the barn at Dad's to breed another dog. And my Misty Blue bitch was in heat, so we put Tommy and Misty Blue in a horse stall and went and bred the other dogs, and that's where the Saloon, a dog called Steel, came from that went to Billy Step, and another dog called Racetrack that's in the background of old Solution, some of that blood. But anyway, Tommy, he was out of a little bitch called Glory B that went back to scratch. Cassie, who Misty was out of, was by Scratch and Cassius, and that's why I wanted to breed Tommy. And that blood doubled up pretty nice.
Well, with that out the way, let's get into your upbringing in reference to, where you were part of. Your association with the dogs early on. Well,
as far back as I can remember, I've always been around a bulldog, game rooster, and racehorses. My granddaddy had them, and my dad, when I was, my mom was pregnant with me, he ordered a pit bull puppy through the, I think it was a Grit and Steel magazine, he said. Somebody had an ad in there, and he ordered a pit bull pup, figuring I was going to be a boy. And anyway, we had one.
Not to cut you off, I just wanted to clarify the Grit and Steel is the cock magazine, right?
Yes, right. Grit and Steel and Feathered Warrior, yeah.
So they would have local advertisements with the in the magazine by Dogman, basically.
Yeah. Even Colby back in those days advertised in there.
Right. I remember seeing the
Ham Morris advertised once in a while in there.
But I remember early on in the 80s, they used to have the hunting magazines. What's that? Well, I was trying to tell a lot of the hunting magazine. I used to see game dog ads in there.
Oh yeah.
But go ahead, continue on.
Well, back then it wasn't so much as for the show dogs, but like I say, the dogs, a lot of them were UKC and AKC registered, and which don't. They like I say, just if you could look up and get hold of some of the old good Leitner, Colby stuff and the Wallace stuff, you did real good.
Right. And so, like you said, you a third generation dog man. Like your father had him and your grandfather before him, huh?
Yeah. Like I say, Dad, we never had a bunch of dogs. We always had one or two, always, and we knew Ham Morris. We'd go up to Ham's once in a while and watch a few rolls and stuff like that. But Ham gave me a dog when I was about third or fourth grade. He gave me a little female pup, and we had a Colby dog called Boots, and he was a pretty good dog. But anyway, we raised some off of that, and them dogs lasted us a long time. And then when we got the end of those is when we got a couple dogs from Pat Budjanowski, and most of the blood that we use nowadays goes to me. That's what I base everything pretty much on. I mean, we got dogs in the pedigree, it's the old Cowboy Shivo stuff, but the base is what came from Budjanowski.
Okay, and you spoke on Ham Morris. I once read about him being a excellent trainer of animals in general.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I once also read he trained a dog to drive a car. Something.
He had a horse. Had a horse that drove a car. He had two different horses. He had a horse back in the 50s that was more of a Hackney Shetland type pony that drove a car, and then up in the 60s, 70s, he had a big a draft horse, a Belgian mare, and he had a cut down Lincoln that she stepped up in there and had the steering wheel up high and had the foot piece, and she would drive the car. But it was pretty good. Ham could train. Like I say, he was pretty cool with training animals and doing anything. He had a dog that he trained for a lady that was deaf, and the dog would answer the phone. He'd knock the phone off the deal and bark in it and go get the lady and tug on her, and she knew somebody had called, even though she couldn't hear him.
Right. So was he more of a competitor back in those days, or a breeder like?
Well, he was a competitor still. He wasn't doing that much back then. Back this year's like in the 50s. He still did a few. My granddaddy had matched dogs with him and fought up there around the Cincinnati area and stuff. And he still kept a lot of dogs. He had, like I say, the bitch he let me have, which he said was a Feely bitch. Now, no, I never had papers on her, but I always me reading and daydreaming about dogs. I love the old Feely line and the Corvino line. And that's what I've always kind of looked at and liked anyway.
Right. And you also said Pat Budjanowski. Was he more of a competitor or breeder or both? Or what was him?
He was both. He was both. And he was a lot. He was a good breeder. He was an exceptionally good breeder. He was hard on his dogs, and he knew what he was looking for. And back in those days, there's a lot of dogs that were out and about that wasn't supposed to get out of people's yards and stuff like that, as far as because of the way they were bred. So when they did get out of somebody's yard, they wasn't bred the same way on paper. Right. And kind of like old Carver said, when they ain't bred the way that they're saying they are, they're usually bred a whole lot better. And it was kind of that circle, I guess.
Well, when Carver said that, you think he was saying that from experience? Cause,
yeah.
he was known for, like you said, if they're not bred the way they said they bred, they probably bred a whole lot better. He probably was talking from
Well, like I said, we sent Carver a bitch after Cassius won, and he wanted something off of Cassius. We bred Cassius back to his daughter Cassie, and we sent him a little buckskin bitch, a dirty buckskin bitch, and he called her Dark. Anyway, he bred her several times, and we did get a pup back from him that was by Petronelli's Pete, but you never seen nothing that he actually registered as being out of her.
Right.
And I'll have to post a picture one of these days of a bitch that looked just like her, because they were kind of an iron, separate gray-looking dogs, and
you said gray?
They're kind of a buckskin gray, yeah, with the Widow Peak type dogs.
Right.
They were, yeah. But it was kind of funny. And then he got another bitch later on, and it was a brother-sister mating, Red and Cassie, that he used, and he called her Ruby Red. And he did register a litter or two out of her, and I know he had several different litters out of her. But anyway, they were pretty good dogs. And I whipped, and a dog that won over him was out of a sister to that bitch, bred to Ace, and that's what produced my little Ace.
Now, when you say over him, you mean over Carver?
Yeah, well, we had a pooch. We bred Cassius to Patty and got a dog called Ace, and we used him against Carver.
That's
But
why I
but I had used Ace, right? Ace was like 22 months old when he went into Tex.
you took the words out of my mouth because I was going to say, didn't you actually go into Carver?
Yeah, that was his last match. That was going to be his last hoorah. And it was the last one, I'm thinking, held at Leo Kennard's. And it was a one deal show, and there was people there from everywhere. And I think it went like an hour and 46. And Ace put Tex away.
Now, speaking of Tex, wasn't that the same dog that was supposed to have been going into the Greaser dog when they switched him for Zebo, if I'm not mistaken?
More than likely. It was Tex, Jeremiah, Macho. There were several good dogs in that litter, and Carver said that he could borrow any dog he wanted. He could have used Art, he could have used Jeremiah, and he thought Tex was the better one, and
Right.
that's who he used. And Dean Hudson had him at the time.
What was your thoughts on Tex during that match? Was he a pretty offensive dog, like the style of dog?
Oh, he was strictly offensive. Like I say, my pooch was on the young side, and he was 22 months old. He'd been rode one time.
And that's Zeke. That's Zeke?
No, this is a dog called Ace.
Oh, Ace. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Ace. And he ram-wrecked Ace. But now Driller and all them dogs, the ones that went into Zeb later on, when Baker used Zeb, he won pretty easy over them.
Right. And how long was it? Did the show go with Ace and
Tex, they went an hour and 45, 46 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you said that was Carver's last match after that.
Yep. That's what he had advertised it as, and he passed not too awful long after that. He was popping his nitro pills in.
You said the nitro pills?
Nitrous pills or whatever he was taking for his heart.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, he was a cool guy. He was a lot of fun.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure you spent a lot of time around him.
I didn't spend a whole lot of time, more or less. My dad did a little bit, but we communicated some. And like I say, we weren't we didn't socialize all that much with everybody anyway back then.
Right. What would you say about his conditioning of a dog during those times?
Well, I think he knew how to condition one for damn sure, and I know that he had a couple of people work for him doing the work with Tex, and like I say, which made me work my dad's dog pretty hard, and it's a good thing.
Right.
But
I know with your father being a dog man, I know you consider him one of your mentors and something of that nature, because I know you told me about the disagreements y'all used to have. Oh
yeah, well, like I say, I worked for him for years. I break the yearlings at the farm, stuff like that, and go to the track for a week or two to get them going. And I come back to the farm, and I had it made. I just took care of the dogs, the chickens, and a few horses, and could do what I wanted to with them. So it usually worked out pretty good for me. But like I say, we would disagree once in a while on a few little things. But he was right about 90% of the time.
Okay.
We had a lot of fun doing it.
Right. And he was a well-known horse trainer also.
Yeah, Dad was probably as good a trainer with 2-year-olds as anybody out there. He could take a 2-year-old and first time out, you could bet your money. And he might beat horses that day that he'll never beat again.
Okay. So what, like having multiple animals like that and being basically performance animals, do you think that performance animals, because you had the race horses and you had to get them ready for their events, you had the chickens, and the dog. So would you think that gave you some kind of advantage of just animals in general?
Well, you get to recognize, it's kind of funny, the good ones in anything, the look, the air about them is always kind of cool. The ones with a whole lot of class and their calmness and stuff like that, people overlook it sometimes and think, oh, they ain't this or ain't that. And sometimes the ones that calm, still alert type deal just kind of goes a little further sometimes.
Right.
Dogs or chickens or horses.
Okay. So let's talk about the Bruce dog a little bit.
Okay.
Anything about him?
Bruce was he was a good dog. He was an exceptionally good dog. He had a lot of Boomer's traits. But he was a big dog. we matched him 3 times at 63 pounds, and I always brought him in at 57. That's what he always came in at. And then I had one match at 55 straight with him, and he won that one easy. It was kind of funny. Then some boys brought a 70-some pound pooch over one time, and he made short work of him. But he could put one away.
And that's when the boys bought the 70-pound pooch. Was that just something off the chain like that? Or?
Pretty much, yeah. They came over a few weeks before and said they wanted to do something, and said okay, and we set up an evening for it and a couple everything, and
right.
They didn't go much over 40 minutes.
Okay. Now you had a son of his, Slow Motion. He's a big bone dog, just like Bruce, huh?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, that whole litter was kind of like that. He was out of a bitch called Nervy. Nervy was Red and Patty. Red back to Bruce. And there was a sister out of that was a hell of a dog. She went down south. And then another male went, and I guess they had a raid down there or something, and they did away with a couple of poochers down there.
Right. And because I'm looking at the picture I've seen of Slow Motion, he looked like he could have been the foundation of that, what they call the bullies today. You familiar with the,
Oh yeah. Oh, he could have been. He had a lot, but he had a lot more classy look to him than what they do.
Right. He definitely looked like he could move around.
But he had the bone. He had the bone and stuff. I mean, he carried the bone over from Bruce. Bruce was massive. Bruce wasn't no taller than say a 45-pound dog. He didn't come above my knee, and to be a 57-pound, he was just. I mean, he was awesome. He was hard to hurt. He had all the ability. His length, he just knew how to use it.
And Bruce was down from
Davis's Boomerang and out of Patty.
And Patty was a daughter of Boomerang, huh?
Patty was a litter mate supposedly to Art.
Oh, okay.
Like I say, there we go again, supposedly.
Oh, okay.
Well, we got her as a pup. And that, he said Eli and Java, and but Dad liked her. And we looked at her a time or two. She was, and my dad loved a black dog. He just flat ass loved a black dog, right. And I think that's why he liked Patty so much. And that's why he liked Cowboy so much.
Now, when you described that Widow's Peak, was Boomerang what you talking about with the Boomers?
He had a little bit of one, and I'll tell you what's funny is Shivo did too. And it was always funny because Carver, when Dad got ready to breed that pup, we bred her to Cassius first. And then when we bred her this next time, Carver called Dad up and said, "Who you breeding her to?" And Dad said, "I'm going to breed her to Cowboy." He said, "Damn it, breed her to Shivo." Dad said, "Well, they're brothers." He said, "Listen, I told you to breed her to Shivo." Well, anyway, Dad did not want to breed to Shivo. He bred to Cowboy. And then later on, Baker told me, he said, Carver said that breeding to Shivo would go a lot better with y'all's blood. So I don't know I never knew exactly what the deal was, but anyway, it was kind of funny.
Right. So you brought up Cassius, and that's the foundation of the Divine line.
Yeah. Well, she had 3 males. She had a dog called Ace, Deuce, and Trey, and they were all three pretty good dogs. Ace was excellent. Deuce won a couple, and Trey, he was a pretty good dog. Like I say, a lot of her goes we didn't advertise or nothing like that, and fact is, most of them that got wrote up, the ones we lost.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, that's all right too.
And well, no, I guess you thought I must have been talking about Cassie. I was talking about Cassius Clay. That's what I meant, right?
Cassius Clay, yeah.
Now he beat one of my famous. I mean, far as like looks, one of the best looking dogs I ever seen before. The Greenwood Strider dog.
Oh yeah. That was a hell of a match. Yeah. Dad. When Dad finally got finally got Cassius from Pat. Pat didn't really want to sell him. We had to send another guy to Pat, and he sold him to him. And we ended up with Cash was about 6 or 7 years old when we got him.
Right.
And Dad had seen him go several times. Them old boys up there in Chicago, they all of them they was trying to stop him left and right. And Pat even tried to stop him a time or two. You know, they two dog him, come back a week later and look at him again, and he just knew how to win.
And this was just all off the chain stuff, or any of them?
A lot of it was off the chain. Because I don't think Pat could ever. I don't think him and Cash got along too good. But when we got him, Dad took me races, and started working him. And a week and a half before the match, he went from Kentucky to Jersey to Florida, back to Jersey, back to Kentucky, then went out to Mississippi for the go. Within a week, he did all that traveling.
And what was the reason for that?
Well, we're at the racetrack.
Oh, okay.
And where we're racing at, and that's, you know, we had our treadmill set up in the training barn, and we could walk them around there and this, that, and the other, and that's where you got worked at.
You're killing two birds with one stone, huh?
Well, you have, yeah. You got to make a you know, you can have fun, but you got to make a living to have fun.
Okay.
That's like me. I'm still shoeing horses for a living, but I still enjoy feeding a few old dogs and feeding a few chickens.
Right. And so which one of the outside of the dogs you own, which one of the best dogs you ever seen, you know, own?
Well, probably, like I say, probably to me, one of the most memorable dogs I ever seen was a little dog called Prince. And that was one of the first, he was about the second or third dog that Carver sent out. Gene Cutchins got him. He was a little brindle dog. I think he was 39 or 40 pounds. That was a bad son of a gun. And classy looking. You know, you're talking about the way Strider looked. This little dog had looks, man, make you, you know, you just turn your head when you see him. He was a good looking dog.
Right.
And he could go. He could flat go.
And you got a chance to see Grand Champion Boomerang also, huh?
Yeah, I seen Boomer. He whipped a little dog. Old Teal always had some good, honest dogs, and I seen Teal down in Mississippi. I was just a kid then.
Right.
And I was at the Mississippi show, and he fought a little dog called Tramp. Tramp won pretty handily. Well, anyway, Teal came down here to Florida, and that's when I think it was Boomerang's first match, and he went into Teal and Tramp, and he killed every hair on Tramp. And when you whip a game one like that, it takes a pretty good one to do it, and Boomer could do it.
And that's Howard Till you're referring to, right? Because he was pretty competitive back then too.
Oh yeah. But yeah, they used to always bring some good ones. They had some good bred dogs. Good, you know, they're gonna, you better be in good shape every time you met them. But it changed. It made a bunch of these boys around here in Florida back then. Most of them had some old, pretty much hog dogs, you want to call them. And when Gene Cutchin got Prince and won like he did, and then a couple of boys lost to Teal, a couple of them. Well, they all ordered dogs from Carver, and Teal quit coming down here.
So you also, let's talk about Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah,
he was Midnight Cowboy.
He was a good dog. He was the way he was bred to be. He was rough, but he knew how to get to you. And when he got to you, you wouldn't hardly get him out. Now he's camped out.
Oh, okay.
And he throwed good ones. He throwed rough. Main thing is they were rough. Right. And what you saw is what you get. It was fun watching a pair of them that are bred like go, because it was just like rolling dice. Whoever gets there first with the mostest won, you know.
Right.
But and then, you know, that's what I used to always have to go into. But our dogs always had a little bit of style. We traveled a bunch, and you can't travel with just a one ratio type mutt. You got to be able to take it back up a little bit until you can dish it out.
Right. And what about Cassie as a performance dog? I know she was a good producer for your family of dogs.
Which one?
Cassie as a performance.
Oh, Cassie? Cassie, yeah. Well, Cassie, she was a extremely slow scratching dog and one of the hardest biting bitches I have ever seen. She didn't do no shaking or nothing. Everything was just straight in and shut her mouth. And I got to use her one time at 46 pounds. She was an older bitch at the time. Baker called me up, boy in Miami, had bought one from Floyd that they was trying to get hooked up. And I used Cassie into her. And at 15 minutes, people were trying to buy the other bitch so they could stop the go because she annihilated them. There wasn't much left. It went about 20-some minutes.
You once told me about Boomerang being able to be one of those type of dogs where you could just let him run the yard, right? Something like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the best stories Baker ever told me, when he very first got Boomer, he bought him so he could go into teal. And he's working him down the dirt road. Rode him outside of his truck. And somebody's yard dog came running out there and chased Boomer back to the truck. So Baker calls Carver up, and he's told him what happened. And old Carver had that big old bass booming voice, you know. He said, son, when you go in the box, you ain't got to worry about it. And you didn't. He was a good one. But what's funny, though, see, that trait right there, Bruce and Zeb, all them dogs, they could run loose in the yard. You could have dogs on cables, chains. They could run loose.
Right.
And when the Johnsons bought Zeb, they came down to get a dog off of Baker for a go, and Baker didn't have one for him. Baker called me up and wanted to know if we had anything we'd let go. So I called Dad, you know, and Dad said, well, yeah, I guess we can let the red and white one go if you want to. And I said, okay. So we had Zeb, he was a red and white dog. We had Boots, he was a chocolate and white dog, and we had Bruce, he was a tan and white. But anyway, I said, yeah, so they came over to the farm. I'd never met the boys before. They're from out the Carolinas. And they came over, two brothers and their dad and a couple, and I think J.C. Riles was with him. He was a pretty good old boy. But anyway, they came and looked at Zeb, and they bought him. They paid a pretty good buck for him. And I said, well, y'all want to see him go? Oh, no, we got him lined up. I said, oh, okay. I said, you don't want, I said, we can bump him if you want to. Oh, no, we're good. Baker said, if you said it, I said, well, he's all right. Well, anyway, they had Teal condition him. So when they went back home, they stopped at Teal's and dropped him off to start working. They were matched into Crenshaw. And Teal calls him up about, 2 or 3 nights later, they said, and said, did you ever see this dog go? And Jerry says, nah, why? He said, well, he's letting the cat eat with him here on the porch.
So, and when you say Crenshaw, which dog Crenshaw was using?
You know, I'm thinking, I think it was Otis.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, I forget. It was one of them boys in Georgia were high on. He's won a couple or whatever. And anyway, and I don't know how Teal got Zeb that light. I think they went at 42 or 43. Zeb was a 46, 49 pounder. But he pulls one down to a very well, and he ate James's dog.
Yeah, I've heard that about Howard Teal in reference to how fine he pulled a dog down.
Oh, and you know, not all bloodlines you can pull down like that. And Teal, him, Sadler, all them guys had all that old Kobe Leitner with that Williams blood, and they could be pulled down light, and still keep a bite. You know, even Kamazinski, he couldn't get over when they whipped him with Tip, that they used the dog. That damn thin whipped one of his dogs. He couldn't believe it.
Oh, okay.
When he whipped Scout.
Was that Billy Step?
Huh?
When he whipped Step, that's Billy Step?
Oh, no. Well, yeah, but Billy Step got a couple dogs from us years ago, but now when they used Tip, Teal did, to whip Kamazinski, they used the Scout dog, a little black dog, little terrier looking, heavy, kind of a heavy, blocky, short dog, and Tip whipped the hell out of him.
He was supposedly Kamazinski's he's supposed to use a lot of bull terriers in his dogs, huh? I
wouldn't doubt it. They looked apart. He gave Dad a pup, and he was a white dog and kind of tall and racy. Had a terrier deal, but he was game. I mean, he was past game. Didn't have a lot of ability, but he was game.
And speaking of Komaninski, Oscar Ozzie Stevens followed him. You told me something about the knife that he had in the photo. Where did that knife come from? The Ozzie Stevens had was awarded or something like that. I can't. You remember?
Oh no, I don't. I'm thinking. No, I don't. I don't.
Okay, well maybe that wasn't you that told me that story about the knife that Ozzie Stevens had on the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as me knowing Ozzie Stevens, I didn't. I had been around him a time or two, I guess. But as far as me saying I knew him, I didn't.
Right.
You know.
Okay. So and well, I know you've been around Barker Davis a lot. What about him and his wife as a team? It wasn't too many husband and wife teams that were so competitive as they were, huh? Around that time.
They loved him. You know, they were a team, and like I say, they loved him. They took good care of him. You knew you was in for a go when you went into him.
And she was just as active as him, I guess.
Well, she cheer you on.
Right. Well, they always say behind every great man is a great woman.
Yeah, and they can cause problems every now and then.
Oh, okay. I guess that's a whole another interview there.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's kind of funny sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah. So, what about the Zeke? You got a dog named Zeke.
Zeke, yeah, he was a great brindle dog. Yeah. He was Cowboy and Patty, and real rough. Had a lot of ability. Whipped a couple of good dogs with him, and then lost to a friggin' rough ass end dog that he couldn't take what he wanted to dish out.
Right.
It was kind of funny, and Baker always said, he said, I've never had no luck with them great brindle ones. I said, now's a fine time to tell me.
And the little ace dog, how about him? That's the
Little Ace was Cassius reincarnated. He could think, figure things out. When you're watching a go, you're always thinking, well, if he would just do this, he'd be doing it. And he was off of a bitch that was brother sister mating, Red and Cassie, Red to Ace, and Ace was by Cassius out of Patty. Red and Cassie were both by Cassius. And he was a big dog. He was 49, 51 pounds, what he went at. And he stowed good dogs for me. Won some excellent matches. And like I say, he was my favorite dog. It kind of, when they came in the yard when I went to lunch one day, and we're working on a go for him, and old Greg Barrentine tried to whip him 3 different times. And he said, well, the next time I'm betting on him. And he called me up, and we're working on a match to go with for quite a bit. And somebody came in the yard on a rainy day and shot him. Hmm. Yeah, I came home, and all my dogs are raising hell. I had about 40-some tied out in the field on cable runs. And they were all raising hell. And generally, Little Ace, he could just sound off one time, and everybody shut the hell up. And I looked down there where he was and didn't see him. And somebody done came up and shot him out there on the damn chain.
Wow.
Kind of caused some bad feelings. Never knew who did it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't.
Right. Well, that's a bad way that's just sad in the industry. I've heard stories that happen like that, even worse though. But
oh yeah, well I got like I say, it's when I got sorry, I got kind of clear out of it. I gave old Westbury a lot of my dogs, and Mike Morgan and his cousin Paul Roundtree, and thankfully I did, because they kept the blood kind of going. And then a friend of my dad's, they took my dad traveling down to Mexico and everything quite a bit, and kind of got me back into it a little bit. And I hope, and I end up, they gather up on you, hell, I'm feeding a dozen now, and I don't need no more, and I got 2 bitches I want to breed, but I'm gonna try to wait another year.
Okay. So could you share some of your conditioning tips that you use, or give any advice on conditioning in general?
Well, in general, keep it simple. Right. Honestly, you got to work hard, you got to rest good, and you got to eat good. And that rest part is just as important as all the other stuff. They need a good, quiet place when you get done working, and put them up. And if you can get, the best feed that you can get, good. Back in our day, we fed horse meat, and we fed over 25 pounds of meat a day to our dogs. Did that for years, And when I was working one, I cooked it. Not, I didn't cook it to death, but we just, bring it to boil and stuff, and use the horse meat and some good greens and good kibble, some vitamins. Didn't over vitamin, and try to keep it, really keep it simple and just work, and then get them on a schedule that it's the same thing, day in, day out, same exact thing.
And the time will be important too. Like when you're doing your scheduling for the dogs, like would you do it at the same, like as far as the keep, would you do it at the same time every day, like you say?
Yes, especially you start now. People want to just take one off the chain and work them 30 days. But if you got a real good one, and you ain't overwhelmed with taking care of a whole bunch of other dogs, you can take that pooch and you spend 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and you're out and about with them, working them a little bit, playing with them a little bit, riding them around a little bit, that adds up. And then when you take and say, okay, in 8 weeks out, we're going to go, then you start your regimen, day in, day out, same time. And the good ones get better with it. Then you get some that can't handle the work. Well, when you meet that one, you got to back up and use a little common sense, because they're not all the same.
Right.
It don't mean he's got less ability or anything else. He just, it's like some people at work. Some of them say, I ain't working that goddamn hard, but be good at it, like a boxing, it's like boxing, you go to the damn gym, you see a kid that don't want to hardly move around, and all of a sudden you put the gloves on him, it's like, shit, he'll kill you.
Right. I get it. Definitely get it. Yep. So and schooling, what's your method in schooling a dog?
Well, it depends on your environment, when it's kind of back in the day when you could have a line of them tied out, on a 10, 12-foot chains or on cable runs. And so when you walk down through and feeding or you're moving pooches around, they get active, stuff like that. And I always had an old dog that didn't have real good teeth, but he always been a good one. And get a youngster that's kind of wanting to raise hell with him, whether it be, I don't care if he's 14, 15 months old, but acting like they want to do something. You walk them by, and if they happen to wrestle a little bit, so be it, but nobody gets hurt, take them, go on, And when it comes time to look at them, they're kind of into it a little bit.
Overall, I guess the process is like a slow process versus it being rushed.
Yeah, well, and I don't know why all of a sudden they want to put when we were looking at pooches, especially youngsters, you get one might have more ability or more breaking power than what you realize. Ain't no need getting 15, 20, 30 minutes and let them just destroy each other, And a 5-6 minute go, bam. But as long as they scratch, actually 5-6 minute bump and scratch them 3 or 4 times, that's what I want. They got to scratch.
Right.
If you don't scratch, you don't win.
Right. And that's another question. I guess that goes with this question here, mouth versus gameness. I guess you kind of answered that with the scratching somewhat.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you what. There are very few of them I want to stick my hand in their mouth.
Right.
I mean, I've seen some soft mouth ones like we all have in wrestling, but I had a pooch he was off a little ace and Mr. Blue, in fact, and he always carried a rock around. He was a little blue dog with white points. He was a 37, 38 pounder. He had no teeth. His teeth were gum friggin' level, and I had him lined up into the Holland boys. And when I'm walking him at night up and down the road here, he'd be toting a friggin' rock as big as your fist. He always had that friggin' rock. And I sold him to Fred Brown the week of the match. And the old boy said, well, David screwed y'all. They said, what do you mean? He said, dog ain't got no teeth. Fred called me up, David, he ain't got no teeth. I said, you ain't got to worry about it. He can wrestle. He put the Hollins boys away in 40-some minutes.
With no teeth.
Yeah, he could mash. He could wrestle, and he would get the whole pooch, neck, shoulder, and mash. People, I say, everybody wants to see cuts and holes. I like to see holes straight in, but all the gashes and cuts and all that, is bullshit.
Right.
Mash and the muscles swell up. You've been hit hard.
Right.
But like I say, that's what makes it a good game. Everybody's got what they strive for, and I'll have to say that, like Dad told me, I went down to Mexico a couple times, and them boys, they got some down there now. You don't want to stand around in front of them.
Yeah, that's a part of the game, the diversity that makes it so interesting.
Oh man, yeah, that's fun.
Different qualities. Some you may look at it like, but then you have some people that got some ways of doing dogs that you wouldn't think of doing, but they're successful at it.
Yeah.
So I've seen stories of that, things of that nature. Yeah. So
every strain of pooches have their traits, and that's like, and when a man's breeding in his yard, pretty much, and knows them, you ain't got to see no 30 minutes in a go. You know what you got pretty quick, and if it's fresh good for you, you feel like there's no need taking a bunch out of them, because you feel confident of what they're going to do. But when you got something that you don't know nothing about, then you want to see it for yourself before you put your hard-earned green on it.
Now, when you said taking a bunch out of them, because I guess you said that in reference to each time they set up for an event,
yeah,
take out of them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it does, it does.
Right.
But like I say, a school and go. Like I say, if you got to pooch it, I had one that Baker gave me. He gave me a little dog one time for a birthday present. He was a little dog off a Cowboy, bred back to a bitch. I think it was by a Cowboy out of Piggy. And anyway, he was a little bat-eared black dog. I had him in the house. He was my kid's dog. And the first time I bumped him, all he did was push for the back end. And I had him on one of our pooches, and he had no shot of getting back there. He had no shot of getting back there. And I got so goddamn mad at him. So a friend of mine had a big old Colby dog that was about a 7 or 8 pound bigger pooch that just was an ear son of a gun. He'd get over the ear and he'd just go to shaking and keep shaking. Well, I put this little dog Grip, took him over there and rolled him on Gene Blunt's dog. And his big old brindle dog, my little dog was bad-eared when the roll was over. He had one ear going east, one ear going west. He done pulled him down. So let him heal up pretty good while. And like I say, he was a clown. He was my house dog. He healed up and everything, and we went to roll him again. And when we turned him loose, his first hole was the ear. So at least he had a little smarts about him.
Right. So was those Kobe dogs? They was pretty prevalent back then around that time you talk about, because I heard you mention Kobe dogs a lot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And talk about Teal's dogs. Most of that was goes back to some of the old Kobe stuff. And old man Sparks lived down the road here, so a lot of these local boys around in this part of the country, that's where they got their dogs from. And it was good blood. It crossed good. We had a dog called Mountie that was by a dog that Pete Sparks had, bred to a Kobe bitch, TNT Blondie.
Okay.
And old Mountie, he was a hell of a good dog. I whipped. We used him on a dog that Clyde Mason furnished at a show up there in Mississippi, and they might have got to us a little bit. He was kind of foaming at the mouth and couldn't hardly hold anything, but he wrestled and scratched. He scratched like a friggin' rocket. Hour and 40-some minutes, and the other pooch finally stood. But and we won 2 or 3 more before that one, and a couple after that one. So I mean, he was a good dog. He was a real good dog.
And you remember a dog you had, a Kobe bred dog named Cindy? I think her name was. Cindy?
Yeah. That was a neat little old bitch. Like I say, Dad was. We had her, and in fact, that's how come we ended up going to Hams. Right after we lost her, Dad was working her, and he was roading her. And anyway, somebody ran over. She got ran over he was rolling through an old cemetery at night, and somebody ran through there and actually ran over her and killed her. And we went to Ham Morris, and that's when Ham gave me that pup.
Did she ever start a career, or no? She was too young. She got killed too early.
She was being worked to go. Somebody at the chicken fights where we fought at, somebody had one about her weight and was talking about him. So him and Dad were going to get together. So that's why he was roading her, working her.
Oh, okay, so she had been through school. What type of dog was she, like, as far as her style?
Generally it was chest and shoulders, just pushing for that chest and shoulders.
Right.
Like I say, Mountie was that way. I mean, he'd take an ear every now and then, but it was mainly he wanted up in that shoulder and chest.
Right. Okay. So outside of as far as stud dogs, what would you be looking for in a stud dog to breed, to any of your bitches?
Well, this day and age, it's kind of funny, but I'm using an inbred Cowboy Shivo blood, a bitch that used to, some of the blood that Westbury had that he sent out west, and we got a bitch back from out there, and it's our brother-sister mating, and I've been using her with my stuff, and it's worked great. I mean, they ain't going to embarrass you. Good looking, good acting, stout, and we've been doing all right with them. Been send some of them way down south, and they've done all right.
Well, that stuff, and that goes back to what line, the bloodline that goes back to?
Well, that's to the old Cowboy and Shivo stuff of Baker Davis. Yeah, it's what's funny. What I used to compete against all the time. Now I'm crossing that with my stuff, with my little Ace Misty Blue stuff.
Oh, okay. Might as well join the winning team, huh?
Well, it's everybody likes their own bloodline, which is great, and you like standing in your own yard, which is great. But don't be blinded when you see a good one. And like Dad always had a good eye. He didn't give a damn how it was bred. When he seen one that he liked, he'd use it.
Right.
Whether it be a rooster, dog, or whatever. And generally the good ones, when you see one that you like, they generally got a pedigree. They generally have a pedigree. And I've seen some lose that impressed me more than some winning because I knew what kind of shape they were in.
Right. Yeah, you don't hear about, I think good dogs is, whether they win or lose, a good dog is a good dog, bottom line.
Well, people don't realize conditioning is, dang. I'm going to say 80. I'm probably, people want to disagree for sure, but I'm going to say it's at least 80% of winning in this day and age. Because, there's some good ones out there, and so whoever's in the best shape, for the most part, will win. You got to be schooled out a little. You got to be schooled out decent, but better be in shape.
What about bonding with the owner? Bonding with the dog too.
Well, good dogs bond with you, and if they don't bond with you, you ain't got no business using them.
Right.
I want a dog with my buddy.
Right.
When we get in a tight spot, it's like, hey, bud, I'm on your side now. I can't do nothing right this instant, but I'm on your side.
I think much percentage of dogs are good, but the owners sometimes they show different. As far as because I see a lot of dogmen that don't really have the patience, and like I always say, they think these dogs are machines. And yeah. So I think the owner plays more of a part in bonding with the dog versus the. Dogs will always be. They recognize, they know good people. Just like kids, you put a little kid around that dog, they recognize good people. When you do something wrong, they know. So I think the same thing about dogs. Dogs know good people, and when they got when they being raised by a good person, they show that loyalty to them. And then to top it off, if you got gameness, that's gonna always help. So. Well,
I'm gonna tell you what. This is kind of when you see one that's down there, he's busted up. He's busted up. Got a leg gone. Got a shoulder gone. And then when the other one's buried in deep on him, and you get down there and he looks up at you and you say something to him, he looks up at you, wags his tail, and he goes back to work. That's what I like.
Right.
And like I say, I've seen a couple of them win like that, and I admire the hell out of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's like I said, that bonding to me is just so important with the dogs. But like you said, the diversity in the game and everybody with their own ideas, that's what makes the game so.
But they're not machines. I don't give a damn what they think. But and I have to take it back in a way. Once in a while, you'll see that individual that is a machine, and he might end up throwing you some 30, 40-minute rough mother humpers down the line. But it ain't what I want.
Now, speaking of rough mother humpers, what was the hardest biting dog you ever seen? The hardest dog you ever seen? I mean, and I know a lot of people will differ on what hardest mouth, but just
Yeah, well, I'll have to say, seen a little pooch go. I mean, he's had a pedigree put on him, but I know better. But the little dog called Pharaoh, he whipped Baker. He was bad. He was bad. Then you take Pit General and Black Bart. There was two right there that were equals. But General got the okey doke on Bart, and Bart never could get caught back up.
Oh, you got a chance to see Pit General?
Yeah, I see him out there in Louisiana. Yeah, when they went against Freddie Jones.
That's the one. Danny Burton owned Pit General, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I forget who he might have been hound, but they had old Freddie so screwed up at the scales. Mayfield handled Pit General in that show.
Right.
Had him out there. He got him ready and all that, and Wemberly and all that bunch were there. But they had old Freddie Jones, his little Black Bart, a good-looking dog, and they had him hanging on the friggin' scales forever. And then they was calling, well, you come over and look at this. You check this out. What do you think? And Pit General was already in the pit waiting on him to come there.
Right.
And they got the other one hanging. Finally, they agree. And when Freddie finally stepped over in the pit, and when he turns around, bam, General hits him right there, almost right in his hands. And it was downhill from there. The Black Bart dog tried to get caught back up, and he had the ability to, but he just got that far behind that quick, and there ain't no catching up with that caliber.
So his mouth was pretty freakish there, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. And you said Black Bart had a pretty decent mouth too?
Oh yeah. They were. I'm gonna tell you what. They were equals. Okay. You'd have been glad to own either cotton picking one of them. As far as a pit dog, you'd have been proud to own either one.
Right.
But
and Pit General went on to become a champion, right? If I'm not...
I never seen him go no more. I don't know if there's any other reports on him. He got stolen that night.
Right. Oh, okay.
No, they never heard no more about him. He got stolen that night.
Right. Okay.
And then people would have a dog in their yard. They said, this is the pup off of General. Dad said, what do you mean? Well, don't worry about it. It's here. You'd be out in California, you'd be in Chicago, and it was funny. Like I say, somebody had him that was in the know.
Right.
But anyway, so there's probably some dogs that were registered by other dogs that were by that little dog. Who knows? Right.
Well, I'm gonna get ready to close the interview up, Mr. Devon. You got any words you want to give to the fraternity in reference to the American Pit Bull Terrier?
Do what now? I'm sorry.
I said, you got any last words you want to give, to the fraternity?
Well, just treat them like they've always been, and I say their background means a bunch.
Okay. Well, that means a lot. That's a heavy. That's definitely a heavy statement.
We grow up reading about them, and it's fun when you get to know them.
Right.
Then you get to realizing more of what they're all about.
Right. Okay. Well, I know your day is busy, and I got some errands to run, so hopefully we probably get up for a part 2 on this.
All right, man. Sounds good.
Hey, once again, man, thanks again for coming by and talking to dogs with me. As always, it's a pleasure for me to talk dogs with you anyway, and all the dogs, man, from the past anyway.
Well, like I say, I forgot a whole bunch here, like I say, but anyway, I enjoyed talking about them. That's half the fun of having them.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
All right, man.
Take it easy.